Hey guys, welcome back to Beyond the Box Score. I am your host Hayat. Today we're breaking down 6 college basketball matchups on February 16th, and this slate is sneaky interesting if you're willing to dig into it. We've got Southeastern Louisiana versus East Texas A&M, Louisiana versus Old Dominion, Drexel versus Stony Brook, South Alabama versus Marshall, Iowa State versus Houston, and Duke versus Syracuse. There's slow-tempo grind spots, there's defensive mismatch angles, there are inflated spreads, there are short numbers that feel off, there's free throw edges that could decide a 2-point game, and yes, there's major backdoor potential in at least one of these. I'm walking through every single matchup the same way I do on camera, thinking out loud, working through the pace, the recent form, the ATS trends, the conference spots, the revenge angles, the situational pressure, and how these games could realistically unfold if they play out the way the data suggests. No guarantees, no promises, no locks, just pure analysis and opinion, connecting the dots across all 6 games and seeing where the value might be hiding on February 16th. Alright, let's get into it. Southeastern Louisiana versus East Texas A&M. The lean here is East Texas A&M. Let me walk through why. We're in Commerce, Texas at East Texas A&M, Southland Conference game, 2 p.m. Eastern Time, standalone spot, and yeah, I know this slate isn't pretty, but sometimes these standalone games are where you really have to grind through ugly profiles. Southeastern Louisiana is 8-18, East Texas A&M is 10-17, so right away I'm looking at 2 teams that haven't exactly separated themselves from the pack. They already played on December 15, 2025. That game was in Louisiana. East Texas A&M was the road team. They were catching plus 4.5 points, and they won the game. That was one of East Texas A&M's 4 road wins this season. So we've already seen this matchup play out once, and East Texas A&M didn't just compete, they went on the road catching plus 4.5 points and won outright. Now if this matchup plays out like that again, I'm asking myself why I would suddenly flip to Southeastern Louisiana in a revenge spot when the underlying numbers are basically identical. Southeastern Louisiana's offense ranks 338th in the country, East Texas A&M's ranks 340th. That's not separation, that's mirror image. Defenses are very similar, similar height perspective, similar strength of schedule perspective, these teams match up very evenly on paper. So what connects for me isn't some huge statistical edge, it's the situational angle. Southeastern Louisiana has 1 road win this season. 1. And that 1 road win was against Houston Christian, and it was in overtime. So their lone road win came in overtime against Houston Christian. Now I'm supposed to bank on them winning on the road here because the line is low. That's the betting angle, the line is described as low, but taking Southeastern Louisiana would require banking on them to win on the road. And they have 1 road win this season. They just lost their last game to Northwestern State, described as a bad Northwestern State team, and they lost that one outright. Earlier this season they played Lamar on the road and lost by nearly 20 points. Nearly 20. So if this matchup plays out like Southeastern Louisiana's other road games, we're looking at struggles away from home, limited offensive ceiling at 338th in the country, and no real separation defensively because East Texas A&M is right there at 340th offensively and similar across the board. East Texas A&M already proved they can beat this team. They did it as the road team catching plus 4.5 points, and that was one of their 4 road wins this season. Now they're at home in Commerce, Texas. One path I see here is a tight, ugly Southland Conference grind, but in that kind of grind I trust the team that's already shown they can win this exact matchup and that has 4 road wins compared to 1. I just can't talk myself into Southeastern Louisiana on the road given the 8-18 record and the road profile. Yeah, the lean sticks at East Texas A&M. Next game we have Louisiana versus Old Dominion. The lean here is Louisiana plus 6.5. Let me walk through why. This one tips at 5 p.m. Louisiana is 9-17 overall, 6-7 in the conference. Old Dominion is 9-18 overall, 5-9 in conference play, and Old Dominion is laying minus 6.5. Louisiana plus 6.5 implied, and Louisiana is sitting at minus 115. So right away I'm asking myself, are these 2 teams separated enough to justify minus 6.5? Louisiana has won 4 of their last 5, and they're coming off just a 4-point loss their last time out. Old Dominion did win their last game, but they've only won 2 of their last 5. So recent form actually leans Louisiana. Now tempo matters here. Louisiana is 362nd out of 365 teams in adjusted tempo, 362nd out of 365. That means they play slow, really slow. Offensively they're averaging 62 points per game, 362nd out of 365 teams in scoring. They're 351st in field goal shooting percentage, 211th from the three-point line. So I'm not pretending this is some offensive juggernaut. But Old Dominion isn't lighting the world on fire either. They're at 74 points per game, 231st in the nation. So if this matchup plays out like a half-court grind, which 362nd in adjusted tempo suggests it will, then minus 6.5 becomes heavy. Louisiana defensively is 227th in opponent shooting percentage, 342nd in opponent three-point defense, but they allow 69 points per game, which is 64th in the nation. So despite the shooting percentage rankings at 227th and 342nd, they keep games down to 69 points per game, 64th nationally. That's pace control. That's game compression. And when you compress possessions, plus 6.5 becomes valuable. If we look at the trends, Louisiana is 5-1 ATS in their last 6 road games. Over their last 10 games, they've hit at an 80% rate covering that 6.5 points. They've covered 6.5 points at an 80% rate over their last 10 games. Old Dominion over their last 10 has covered 1 time. 1 time. And that only cover was their last time out against Georgia State. So if this matchup plays out like recent trends suggest, Louisiana plays slow at 362nd out of 365, scores 62 points per game, keeps opponents to 69 points per game which is 64th in the nation, and squeezes the life out of possessions, then 6.5 points feels like too much. I'm not making a case for Louisiana to win outright. I'm not saying they're suddenly elite at 9-17 overall and 6-7 in conference. But with Old Dominion at 9-18 overall and 5-9 in conference, laying minus 6.5, while Louisiana is 5-1 ATS in their last 6 road games and 80% over their last 10 covering 6.5, that's where the value connects for me. Especially at minus 115. One path I see is Old Dominion winning, sure, but by 3, by 4, by 5 in a slow 62-69 type environment. Yeah, that's why the lean sticks at Louisiana plus 6.5. Next game we will say, Drexel versus Stony Brook. The lean here is Drexel plus 4.5 and under 133.5. Let me walk through why. We've got an 8 p.m. tip, and right away I'm looking at Stony Brook sitting 15-1 overall, 7-6 in the conference, and Drexel 13-13 overall, also 7-6 in the conference. So conference-wise, they're identical at 7-6. But overall Stony Brook at 15-1 jumps off the page compared to 13-13. But when I dig into the matchup instead of just staring at records, that's where things get interesting. Drexel defensively is 36th in the nation for effective field goal percentage allowed, 36th in the nation in points per game allowed, giving up just 68.8 points per game. They're 35th in the nation giving up just 30% shooting from downtown, and 68th in overall field goal percentage allowed. So if this matchup plays out like Drexel's defensive profile suggests, Stony Brook's offense is walking into resistance. Because Stony Brook offensively is 238th, 279th in points per game, putting up 72 points per game, 310th overall field goal percentage shooting just 42.6% from the field. Yes, they're 98th in the nation from three-point range shooting 35% from downtown, but Drexel is 35th in the nation giving up 30% shooting from downtown. So what connects for me is strength on weakness, Drexel's perimeter defense at 30% allowed versus Stony Brook at 35% from 3. Now tempo matters too. Drexel is 330th in adjusted tempo, Stony Brook is 281st. Both playing slow. If this matchup plays out like 330th and 281st tempo teams usually do, possessions are limited. Now layer that over the history. January 8 earlier this year, Drexel won 56-37. Stony Brook scored 37 points. The margin was 19 points. The total in that game was 93. They didn't even break 100 total points. Each of the last two games have landed under 133.5. Last season's meeting landed at 118 total points. So we've got 93, 118, and 2 straight under 133.5. And now the total is 133.5 again. The under has also hit in 5 of Drexel's last 6 road games. So one path I see here is another grind. Drexel slowing it down at 330th tempo, Stony Brook at 281st, Drexel's defense holding teams to 68.8 points per game, Stony Brook already only at 72 points per game and shooting 42.6% from the field at 310th. And Drexel is catching plus 4.5 points. They're 4-1 against the spread in their last 5 road games. So even if they've had struggles winning outright on the road, 4-1 ATS in their last 5 road games tells me they travel competitively. If this game looks anything like 56-37 and 93 total points, or even like 118 total points, then 133.5 is high relative to how these teams have actually played each other. So for me, I lean Drexel plus 4.5 because of the defensive edge and recent ATS road success, and I lean under 133.5 because the history says 93, 118, and 2 straight under 133.5, plus 330th and 281st tempo. Yeah, that's why the lean sticks at Drexel plus 4.5 and under 133.5. Quick pause. If you've got an even one lean you like so far, maybe it's a tempo angle, maybe it's a defensive mismatch, maybe it's a backdoor spot, hit that like button. It tells me you are here with me. And if you appreciate the raw breakdown style, no hype, no fake locks, just real thinking through the slate, hit subscribe. It takes 1 second for you, but it genuinely means a lot for the channel and helps Beyond the Box Score keep growing. Alright, back to the grind. Here we go with next game, South Alabama versus Marshall. The lean here is South Alabama plus 4.5. Let me walk through why. We've got Marshall at home in West Virginia laying minus 4.5, spread 4.5, total set at 149.5. And honestly, I'm surprised. I would have thought this would be closer to a pick'em. That's the betting angle right away, line surprise, expected closer to pick'em. But instead we're looking at Marshall laying minus 4.5. Now South Alabama has won 6 of their last 7 games. They've won 8 of their last 10 games. They are ranked number 1 in the Sun Belt. So if this matchup plays out like recent form suggests, South Alabama is the hotter team. And stylistically, they run a TWO3 zone defense. That's not common. That's disruptive. They are one of the best defensive teams in the Sun Belt. And Marshall struggles defensively. That's documented. Their last game they were minus 2.5 favorites versus Georgia Southern. Georgia Southern scored 101 points. Georgia Southern put up triple digits. So if Marshall is minus 2.5 favorites gives up 101 points and triple digits, and now they're laying minus 4.5 against a South Alabama team that's won 6 of 7, 8 of 10, and is number 1 in the Sun Belt, I have to ask, where is the separation? One path I see is South Alabama's TWO3 zone forcing Marshall into uncomfortable shots, controlling tempo, and getting consistent stops. And I just can't say the same for Marshall defensively after giving up 101 as minus 2.5 favorites. Total is 149.5, so if this becomes a defensive mismatch like I think, Marshall might struggle to reach their side of that. But the core of it for me is the spread. Marshall laying minus 4.5, spread 4.5, when I would have had it closer to a pick'em. If this matchup plays out like form versus form, 6 of 7 wins, 8 of 10 wins, number 1 in the Sun Belt. And a defensive edge with that TWO3 zone against a Marshall defense that just gave up 101, then plus 4.5 is too much. I'm not overthinking it. I'm taking the points. Give me the Jaguars. Give me South Alabama. Give me the points. Yeah, that's why the lean sticks at South Alabama plus 4.5. Next game we will see, Iowa State versus Houston. The lean here is Houston plus the points. Let me walk through why. Iowa State just beat Kansas 74-56, And Houston beat Kansas State 78-64, so both teams are coming in off statement type wins. Houston is 23-2, 11-1 in conference, and right now they're sitting in that driver's seat position. Kansas is 22-3 straight up, 9-3 in conference, so the conference race context matters here because Iowa State is trying to chase down Houston and Arizona, but Houston at 23-2 and 11-1 in conference controls their own destiny. And when I zoom out, I don't just see 23-2. I see Kelvin Sampson's track record since 2018. 27 wins, 33 wins, 23 wins in the COVID year, 28 wins, 32 wins, 33 wins, 32 wins, 35 wins. That's not a one-year blip. That's sustained dominance. So if this matchup plays out like a typical late-season Houston team under Kelvin Sampson, we're talking about execution, toughness, composure. Now look at the road resume. Road wins at BYU, Utah, TCU. Yes, there was a loss at Texas Tech. There was also a neutral loss to Tennessee by 3 and a road loss at Texas Tech by 4. So their only 2 losses are by 3 and 4 in those spots. That tells me margin-wise they're in every game. Now the line information matters. I'm seeing lines around -2.5, around -3. I said I wanted a full possession. If I can get Houston plus a full possession in a game where I think these teams match up fairly evenly defensively, that's value to me. What connects for me is late game execution. Houston is the worst team in conference in giving up free throws, that's the concern, but Iowa State is the worst free throw shooting team in the Big 12, shooting just over 65%. So if this matchup plays out like a tight physical game and it becomes a free throw contest late, I trust over 78% more than just over 65%. Houston is the best free throw shooting team in conference play, shooting over 78%. That's a massive edge in a 2 to 3 point game. And we've seen how free throws swing outcomes. Think about that situational reference example. North Carolina was up 72-40, Syracuse scored 37 points over the final 10 minutes. We've seen swings. We've seen chaos. Late game execution matters. So one path I see here is Houston hanging around, maybe trailing by a possession, and then winning the free throw battle late because over 78% beats just over 65% in crunch time. Lines around -2.5, -3, give me that full possession. I'm taking Houston plus the points because of experience, road toughness, and the over 78% versus just over 65% free throw split. Yeah, that's why the lean sticks at Houston plus the points. Now last game for this video I have, Duke versus Syracuse. The lean here is Syracuse plus 20.5. Let me walk through why. Duke is 23-2, 12-1 in conference, and they just beat Clemson 67-54. Syracuse is 15-11, 6-7 in conference, coming off a 79-78 win over SMU. On the surface this looks like a mismatch. Duke 23-2 versus 15-11. Duke 12-1 in conference versus 6-7. But if this matchup plays out like some of Duke's recent games, there's a backdoor wide open. Syracuse has taken step-up losses, a 20-point loss at NC State, a 10-point loss at UNC, a 13-point loss at Virginia. But even in that North Carolina game, North Carolina was up 72-40 and Syracuse scored 37 points over the final 10 minutes. That tells me this team doesn't quit. That tells me even down 32 at one point, they can make a run and cover. Duke beat Georgia Tech by 6. They did not cover versus Boston College. They lost to North Carolina. So while Duke is 23-2 and 12-1 in conference, they're not necessarily burying teams and slamming the door every single night. Now the spread is Syracuse catching 20.5 points. That's a big number. Example score mentioned was 77-59. Even 77-59 still. Cashes plus 20.5. So if this matchup plays out like Duke winning comfortably but not focused for 40 full minutes, that backdoor is alive. One path I see is Duke up 18-22 late, emptying the bench, and Syracuse grinding for a few buckets in the final 2 minutes to sneak inside 20.5. And again, we've seen Syracuse score 37 points over the final 10 minutes in that North Carolina game when North Carolina was up 72-40. That type of run shows volatility. It shows backdoor potential. Duke at 23-2 and 12-1 in conference is elite, no doubt. And they beat Clemson 67-54, but laying 20.5 requires full focus. With Syracuse 15-11, 6-7 in conference, coming off 79-78 over SMU, they at least have momentum and belief. So what connects for me is the number. 20.5 is a lot. Even 77-59 still covers. Duke beat Georgia Tech by 6, didn't cover versus Boston College, lost to North Carolina. I'm not saying Syracuse wins outright. I'm saying they hang around enough. I'm taking the points. That's why the lean sticks at Syracuse plus 20.5. Alright, that wraps it up for all 6 matchups of this video on February 16th. As always, this was analysis and opinion only, nothing guaranteed. Just me working through how these games could realistically play out if the situations line up the way they look on paper. Now I want to hear from you. Drop AZ in the comments and tell me. Which lean are you riding? Which game do you think I'm reading wrong? Or which spot feels like the trap on this slate? I read every comment, and a lot of the best discussions happen down there. More breakdowns coming soon, same raw format, same deep dives, same grind through the numbers. Until next time, let's keep connecting the dots.